Kicks it loose. Pushed it in. He scores! Delayed onside is right as the Bruins bring it on back. It's Marchand with it. To the net. Jersey jam. Genoa to right. Genoa to right. He just won. Sam Bennett.
Boy.
Good evening, Southie Bees Nation. I'm Southie B, reporting live, not really, from the Situation Room. I think I may be underdressed. What was supposed to be a very joyful and felicitous Hagens Day has been replaced with a day of uncertainty as the Bruins decide to scratch James Hagens in his first game since being called up from the Providence Bruins. In addition, Lukas Reichel has been sent down, leaving essentially the only skater eligible to replace the spot on the roster as Alex Steeves, who did play in the Bruins' last matchup, a 6-5 overtime loss against Carolina. Originally, I was going to make a video where I polled Southie Bees Nation about their thoughts on Hagens. I asked my dad, I asked my girlfriend, I asked you guys again, I asked you guys yet a third time. Didn't get a lot of responses from you guys, come on guys, but I got bailed out. Bailed out in one sense and doomed in another, as the Bruins, despite signing Hagens to an ELC and burning the first year of that 3-year contract, have decided not to play him in one of these games. There are potential reasons why that we'll look into, but I think this might belie a more troubling undercurrent in the Bruins' organizational structure. Let's get Occam's razor out of the way. The simplest explanation is often correct. Hagens, if he plays 10 games this season, I believe, and I'm open to being corrected on this because I feel like the NHL has very difficult to understand rules. If he plays 10 games this season, he will be eligible to receive offer sheets at the end of his ELC. What I have to say about that is, if you don't pay this dude at the end of his ELC, I will lose my mind. But there is at least a defensible mindset in which you might not want to play Hagens in this game. Why? Well, 10 games this season could be the last 3 games of the regular season and the 7 games. No, this is frontwards, so it'll be backwards. I see I'm learning. 7 games of the playoffs. We would have to go to 7 and lose in 7 for that to be relevant, which, I don't know, seems like a very specific gamble. We're not the Maple Leafs, am I right? But nonetheless, keeping the amount of games that Hagens plays lower could in the midterm actually have some benefit. But you know what else would have benefit? An entire extra year on his ELC. Now I'll tell you what I think happened. The powers that be, Sweeney, Neely, the invisible hand that guides the Bruins, called up Hagens. That could be to put butts in seats, to get people happy on Twitter because they think that he will help the team right now in the midst of this playoff push that we look to be pretty solid in, but it ain't over until the fat lady sings. And the fat lady in this case is probably the Detroit Red Wings. I don't know who the first team out is going to be, but anyway. Marco Sturm, on the other hand, apparently prefers Alex Steeves to be in the lineup. Reichel has been sent down. There's also contract structure, emergency call-up, all kinds of peripheral reasons why that might happen. And I hear from Bruins insiders, among whom I am not, that is likely a temporary send-down to Providence and he'll probably be on his way back up shortly, I imagine the postseason. Either way, Marco Sturm apparently believes that Alex Steeves gives us a better chance of winning this game than James Hagens. That's not to say that it's necessarily a deliberative, that it's Steeves or Hagens. There are other people who could be scratched, though center is a deep position on our team because a lot of our wingers are centers playing on the wing. In any case, if we are to believe that Sturm is fielding icing, the team that he believes gives us the best chance to win, which in the situation that we are, I believe that he is, he thinks that the 12 forwards who give our team the best chance to win do not include James Hagens. So my question is, what is going to change in the next 3, 7, that's the minimum amount of games if we make the playoffs, 10, however many games that's going to make you change your mind. I was delighted when Hagens was called up, and it's not even for the most common reason. I have not confidence, but expectations. There was I think WEEI or some, I'm not from Boston, I'm not from New England, so I don't actually know what all the stations are. There was a New England radio sports reporter on some venue, maybe YouTube, who knows, who said that he expected the kid, I think he said, to suck. I might be paraphrasing. Either way, was not high on Hagens, did not expect him to come out and perform well. And I think that Bruins fans need to be realistic and need to acquaint themselves with the possibility that the 19-year-old that we've called up suddenly from Boston College, well, not suddenly, we kind of knew it would happen, but that the guy who was playing college hockey a month ago, the guy who's never played an NHL game, might not come in and score 4 goals, or 3, or 2, or 1. He could suck. It seemed to be a departure from the status quo of the recent Bruins, which became something of an old boys club. We like the same sorts of players. We have the same guys go out and come in. Corrali leaves and comes back. Corrali's a guy I'm happy enough with. Though the fact that he seems to be above scratching when other players are not does not really make sense to me. But anyway, there's of course the Marchand move, which a little bit refutes my point in as much as he was the longest tenured Bruin by a country mile. And we moved off of him. And I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I think that was a move that made sense. We were not willing to give him a contract that he was particularly interested in, and now that we look at what the Panthers gave him, we certainly were not matching that. So I thought, even if it might not be the best product on the ice, first of all, I have convinced myself, as I hope you have, as I hope the team has, and as I hope the universe has, that this Bruins team is making the playoffs. We might get in there ugly, but we will get in there. Second of all, I thought it was good in principle that we were willing to take a chance, that we were willing to put the youth in there and see what happens. Porter Martone just scored a game-winning goal on us. Maybe we can score a game-winning goal with our version of Porter Martone. Who's better? Now I'm left thinking that this decision wasn't that deliberate at all, and we just have some people making some decisions and some other people making some other ones. I trust Sturm enough that I'm willing to ride with whatever decision he makes. Because if you look at what this team was supposed to do this year, we have wildly overperformed, and I think a lot of that has to be attributed to the coach, who has put together something that has worked. It hasn't always worked in the last couple weeks. It has worked kind of poorly, but it has worked on the whole. This team is bound for the playoffs, barring catastrophe, which would be, talk about the video you would see. But now I don't see coherence of vision, and that concerns me. I see players being called up and sent down, and I'm not sure what the coach is on board with and what the team he's icing for, because there's no chance that the intention is to sign Hagens to this ELC and then not use him. There's no way. He has to play in the NHL this year. Otherwise, you keep him on the ATO, and I have honestly no idea how the ATOs work, especially at the minor league level. If you can only play him so many games and you do not intend to play him in the NHL this year, don't sign him. Keep the year of the ELC. We'll still have him under our control. Simple as, and we'll see how both leagues go. I think he could have played through the playoffs. I don't know. Anyway, regardless of the situation with the ATO, if you're signing him to an ELC, the expectation has to be that you expect him to contribute specifically because he is on an ELC. And the contribution, since you called him up to the big leagues, was for him to play in the big leagues on the big team. I understand the value of waiting a little, of letting him get up to, NHL speed, of practicing with NHL guys. I do get that. There were 4 days. We had a long time off. It's the longest time off we've had in my memory this season. Probably not long, well, other than the long breaks, the Christmas, the Olympic break, whatever. We had 4 days. When was the last game? Tuesday? I was on the elliptical. Everything blurs together. In any case, I bet it was Tuesday, though. You call him up the second you can. If the priority is to get him on the big team to play with the spoked B and not the spoked P, you call him up and you get him practice with whatever line you want him to play on. You can give multiple looks. You have multiple days. You call him up and you see what it looks like. And you see what he gives you, and maybe that's what happened. And maybe what he gave us was worse than Alex Steves. If what he gave us right now was worse than Alex Steves, then why did you sign the ELC? Why are we spending a year now? You have to believe, I have to believe, that you believe that this year he can positively contribute to the team. Because if you don't believe that, then I have no idea what to believe about how this team is run at any level. And this isn't coming from someone who was necessarily super high, like, oh yeah, he's going to come in and tear it up then. I have no idea. I don't want to come down and say, oh, well, he didn't do that well in his 6 games or whatever in the AHL. Or, oh, yeah, he's going to come in. One of the comments I was going to talk about today, it was a tongue-in-cheek comment, but that his number will be retired. First of all, 44, respect to the legend Dennis Seidenberg. If he keeps it cool, whatever. But I just wanted to, that 2011 team, I'm always going to mention him if I can. But I don't think that that was an opinion offered in earnest. I don't think that anyone is willing to say that much one way or the other for the guy, except for the people who are looking for reactions, saying that he'll either be, the GOAT, the greatest Bruins center of all time, or that he'll come out there and put in 5 own goals and take 19 minutes in penalties in his first game. If you remove the reactionary folk who, whatever their opinions are what they are, I think that there is room to have tempered expectations, to think he can perform. There could be a jolt to the offense. The offense needs a jolt. One game where you put on 20 shots and have a goalie with a 750, I don't think it was that good, 750 save percentage does not constitute a course correction on offense. So I understand the value of adding a new guy in the circle. Matthew Poitras. But I'm afraid that this has become short-sighted, in that I don't know necessarily what the clear idea of the next step is. Scratching him 1 game is fine if he needs more time to get acclimated. But if he needs more time to get acclimated, I don't know how much time is left in the season. If there is a legitimate belief in the coach's room, in the front office, and I'm not saying what they say to each other, what they say to the team, what they say to the media, the face they present the world. Every team at the start of the year, no matter what their roster is, they could have me as their first line left winger. I'm right-handed, by the way, don't have a very good shot. They could have me, they could have anyone out there, and you should go out there and you should stand at the podium at the start of the season and say, we are competing for a Stanley Cup. I have no problem with that. That should be every team's goal and every team's belief publicly at the beginning of the year. If at this point, this team believes earnestly in their hearts that the 2025-2026 Boston Bruins are a Stanley Cup contending team, I need them to live in reality. I need them to live with me. I need to deal with them on the terms that I'm dealing with this PlayStation controller, this chip clip. I lost the spring for it. If anyone knows where it went, I was playing with it. I like to play with a lot of these sorts of things. With this Gatorade cap, I need all of these things to exist in the same reality with me, or I don't know how to think about them. And right now, I don't know how to think about Hagens. Because if he needs more time, if at this point, right now, he needs more time, then I don't think it was worth calling him up this year, because how many games is he going to have? 9? Do we think we get out of the first round? I think we totally could. I really do think we totally could. So let's say he has more than 9. Let's say he has 15. Do we think he has more than that? Do we think we're better than Carolina? I think we can take a game off Carolina. Do you think we can take a series? Do you think we're better than Tampa? I think we can take a game off of Tampa. And I feel worse of it that Montreal, Buffalo, whoever else. Yeah, I mean, it's hockey, anything can happen, and you have to have belief. And you can't save everything waiting for the next season or the next year where things work out. But you can be realistic, and I just don't know if pushing all of this up, getting the ELC in, getting him onto the roster, makes sense if you're just going to scratch him. If he's not ready now, how ready is he going to be before our season ends? I am not convinced that this is going to be a very popular video. One, because it's not a game review, which always do better than the rest. Thanks, that's kind of my favorite content to make. And because I don't think I'm necessarily espousing an opinion that a lot of people share. But I hope you can at least see my perspective that I'm okay with bringing him up. I'm okay with bringing him out there, even if maybe he's not ready, whatever ready means. It's hard to know if you're ready until you're out there. If he's not ready, if there are trepidations, if there are concerns, misgivings, whatever synonym for that word you want, I'm okay if he comes out there and stinks the joint up. And it's not necessarily good, but what we want to do is get a kid NHL experience. I would be better if we committed to that as a plan rather than played a 50-50 game of, well, we need to win now, and this is the team we'll put. You may well watch this after the Tampa game has already taken place. I think it's at 12:30 Eastern Daylight, 9:30 my time, so it'll be quite early for me, a curtain jerker, if you will. And maybe we win, and then maybe we're able to get Hagens a couple games with slightly lower stakes. Clinch is a clinch. However, the seeds fall after that. And then maybe it will all look to make more sense. But I don't think you can make a decision, no matter how confident you are on the roster and how many games you've lost before, and you think, well, damn, we're going to win one. I don't think you can make a decision for the roster that'll affect the roster and affect your cap and affect how the team is built in contracts and all that in 2 years' time or 3 years' time that has material effect on the team's composition over the next 3 years. I don't think you can make that decision on the whim that you're going to beat what I think is the best team in the Eastern Conference in a matinee game on a Saturday. I don't think you should do it. If you're going to send down Reichel for the emergency, I thought he had already exceeded the emergency period, but apparently he hadn't, because there was some talk about that where Reichel got sent down. If you were going to scratch Reichel or send him down to Providence and you were going to play Steves anyway, why spend the ELC on Hagens? There's no way it was for the positive social media attention, because if that's the explanation, then I'm really gonna lose it. I'm really curious to hear y'all's opinion on this, and I hope I get some down in the comments, because I know that I've taken a much more cautious stance towards Hagens, not because of any lack of belief in him. I think he's a teenager, and I have no idea what a teenager will do. I'm optimistic, I am realistic, I won't hold it against him however he plays, even if it's awful. I won't think that he's Connor McDavid 2.0 if he's extraordinary. It's just too early to say. But I'm curious to see what you think about calling him up and scratching him, whether you think that it's actually a wise way to keep a kid's confidence high so he doesn't go into a situation against a very hard team to play and maybe not have the best performance of his career, or if you think, like I'm inclined to, that there might not be as much coherence between master plan and day-to-day plan as we might like to think. In any case, there will be a brew review video about the Bruins Lightning game tomorrow-ish, could be early morning the next day. Either way, you can see it, and you can see my opinions on how that game played out then, and maybe there will be a little bit more elucidation on the Hagens situation. I guess technically he could still play tomorrow if something really radical changes, and this video would look pretty stupid, but it wouldn't be the first time. But until then, go Bees.